Good morning. This is Sumanna, working as assistant professor at Department of Biochemistry, Government City College, Nayapur. Today's our topic is nature and structure of gene. What is a gene? The concept of the gene, that is the word gene, was first used by Wilhelm Johansen in 1909 and has evolved and become more complex since it was first proposed. And the idea that genes are responsible for the synthesis of proteins was first proposed in year 1902 by a British physician, Sir Archibald Garrod, and who realized that alkaptonuria, which is an inherited metabolic condition in humans, and hypothesized that it was due to the absence of an enzyme, a catalytic protein required for the breakdown of homozygotic acid. And later, George W. Beadle and Edward Totham, who studied the neurospora metabolism, and they have demonstrated that most genes correspond to a region of the genome that directs the synthesis of a single enzyme, and this led to the one gene one enzyme hypothesis. And since many enzymes contains two or more different polypeptides, each encoded by a separate gene, and also many polypeptides are not enzymes at all but serve as non-catalytic functions, then the one gene one enzyme concept subsequently was modified to one gene one polypeptide. And with the discovery of the post-transcriptional modifications processes such as alternative splicing and RNA editing, it was now clear that always one gene gives one polypeptide, not. And in higher eukaryotic cells, many genes produce two or more distinct polypeptides by means of post-transcriptional modifications. And although most genes are transcribed into mRNAs, which encodes proteins, some DNA sequences are transcribed into RNAs that do not encode any proteins. Examples are tRNA and rRNA. However, a gene is not only the transcribed region but also includes all the DNA sequences required for the synthesis of a particular RNA transcript at the proper time and in the appropriate cell type. And according to the current definition, a gene is a functional segment of the genetic material. And in the absence of the demonstrated function, a gene may be characterized by sequence, transcription, or homology. And recently, the Sequence Ontology Consortium reportedly called that the gene is a locatable region of genomic sequence corresponding to a unit of inheritance which is associated with regulatory proteins, transcribed regions, and or other functional sequence regions. And number and size of genes. Actually, the total gene number is known for several organisms. Like the number of genes in bacterial genomes is proportional to its genome size. And the bacteria with the smallest known genome, that is Mycoplasma genitalium, has around 470 genes. And the number of genes in a eukaryote varies from 6,000 to 40,000 but does not correlate with the genome size or the complexity of the organisms. Some genes are present in more than one copy or are related to one another. The number of different types of genes is less than the total number of genes. If you see in this table, there are examples are there, like species genitalium, that is Mycoplasma genitalium, which has around 470 genes, and the genome size is 0.58 million base pairs approximately. And other one is influenza, which has 1727 genes and the genome size is 1.8 million base pairs. And E. coli, Escherichia coli, consisting of 4288 genes and the genome size is 4.6 million base pairs. And Saccharomyces cerevisiae has 6,275 genes and the genome size is 12 million base pairs. When it comes to the Drosophila melanogaster, which is a eukaryotic cell, consists around 12,000 genes and the genome size is 123 million base pairs. And other is elegans, C. elegans, that is around consisting of 20,000 genes and the genome size is around 100 million base pairs. And when it comes to the human beings, the number of genes are around 30,000 and the genome size is 3,300 million base pairs, and the size of genes in higher eukaryotes varies greatly. Like some genes contains more than 2 million nucleotide pairs. However, genes that are more than 1 lakh nucleotide pairs in length are common. There is no correlation between the genome size and the number of genes in the higher eukaryotic cells. And the concept of exons and introns of a gene are most of the portion of a gene in higher eukaryotes consisting of non-coding DNA that interrupts the relatively short segments of the coding DNA. And whatever the coding sequences of a gene are called exons, and the intervening sequences, that is non-coding sequences, are called introns. And the RNA molecule called a primary RNA transcript, which is synthesized from such a gene, is processed to remove the intron sequences during its conversion to an mRNA molecule in the process of RNA splicing. And now the concept of the introns, if we see in detail, that an intron is any nucleotide sequence within a gene which is represented in the primary transcript of the gene but not present in the final processed form. And the term intron refers to both the DNA sequence within a gene and also the corresponding sequence in the primary transcript. And introns were first discovered in the year 1977 independently by Philip Sharp and Richard Roberts. And introns are present in most genes of the higher eukaryotes, although they are not universal. And many genes like interferons, histone genes, ribonucleic genes, and many heat shock protein genes and G protein coupled receptors lack introns. These are the examples of the genes which do not have any introns. So, introns are clearly not required for gene function in eukaryotic cells. In addition, introns are not found in most of the genes of lower simple eukaryotes such as yeast. Conversely, introns are rare in genes of the prokaryotes. And the large genes consisting of a long string of alternating exons and introns, with most of the genes consisting of the introns. The overall length of a gene is determined largely by its introns. And the introns range in size from about 50 nucleotides to more than 1 lakh nucleotides. And exons are usually short, with typically on the order of 150 nucleotide of each. And if you see in this table, there is the average sizes of exons and introns in human genes. It's given like the insulin gene, which consists size of the gene is 1.4 and number of exons are 3 and the average size of the intron is around 480 base pairs. And beta globin gene, the size of the gene is 1.6 kb. Out of this 1.6 kb, 490 base pairs are of introns and the total number of exons are 3. And serum albumin consisting of the gene of size 18 kilobase pairs. The number of exons are 14 and the average size of the intron is 1100. And CFTR, cystic fibrosis gene, consisting of the average size of the gene is around 250 kilobase pairs. The number of exons are 27 and the average size of introns is 9100 base pairs. And the other gene is titin, which consists size of the gene is 283 kilobase pairs, number of exons are 363, the average size of the intron is 466 base pairs, and the dystrophin is the gene which has the size of the gene is 2400 and the number of exons are 79. The average size of the intron is 30,770 base pairs. And there are different types of most common introns. Actually, several distinct types of introns has been reported in eukaryotes and prokaryotes, and all the classes of the genes may contain the introns, like nuclear genes coding for proteins, nucleolar genes coding for rRNA, and genes coding for tRNA. Introns are also found in mitochondrial genes and also in the chloroplast genes. Examples of most common introns we'll discuss now, and the introns usually do not code for proteins. However, certain introns of group 1 and group 2 classes contain open reading frames that are translated into proteins, and the expression of the protein allows the introns to be mobile. Suppose if you have seen in this table, there are most common types of introns. The intron type of GUAG introns are present in eukaryotic nuclear pre-mRNA, and AUAC type of introns are present in eukaryotic nuclear pre-mRNA, and this group 1 introns are found in eukaryotic nuclear pre-rRNA, organelle RNAs, and some prokaryotic RNAs. And group 2 introns are present in organelle RNAs and some prokaryotic RNAs. The pre-tRNA introns are present in eukaryotic nuclear pre-tRNA, and archaeal introns are present in various rRNAs. And the evidence for the existence of introns in a eukaryotic genes. And early evidence about the existence of the introns in eukaryotic genes was proposed by the R-loop technique. R-loop technique, in which base pair complex between the mRNA and DNA molecules is visualized in the electron microscope. And what they did in this technique is that they have purified the ovalbumin mRNA, and which is allowed to anneal to a double-stranded DNA molecule in a suitable solvent containing the gene that encodes the mRNA. The RNA can displace the DNA strands wherever the two sequences match and forms the regions of the RNA-DNA helix. And regions of the DNA where there is no match to the mRNA sequence is possible are clearly visible as large loops of the double-stranded DNA, and each of these loops represents an intron in the gene sequence. Here you can see in the diagram that this is the mRNA, and this mRNA is allowed to anneal with the double-stranded DNA, and that double-stranded DNA should code for this same RNA, and mRNA is short compared to the DNA. Why? Because mRNA processing occurs. So to know that whether there are introns or not, are there or not, what they did is they have allowed the mRNA and the double-stranded DNA to get interact. So wherever the coding is matching, wherever the complementary coding sequence is there between the DNA and mRNA, they got attached, and rest of the DNA which is not complementary to the RNA formed the loops. That's why it is called R-loop technique. Wherever the loops are there, that is the intron. And each of these loop represents an intron in the gene sequence. And the acquisition of the new genes. The acquisition of new genes is a primary driving force of evolution in all the organisms. And there are different ways in which genes could be acquired by a genome. There are actually four methods or four kinds are there by which the new genes can be incorporated. First one is by duplication and divergence of the existing genes in the genome. And how this occurs is that the duplication and divergence of the existing genes is the most important process for the generation of new genes during genome evolution. And this duplication of a single gene or group of genes in the genome may be the result of several mechanisms, and those mechanisms may be unequal crossing over between non-sister chromatids of a homologous chromosomes or unequal sister chromatid exchange, and also by the replication slippage. And that this duplication involves not only the protein coding genes but also the non-coding RNA genes. For example, a novel class of retroduplicates includes snRNAs, which are a class of RNA genes that are involved in ribosomal RNA processing. And the second kind of acquisition of genes is by acquiring the genes from other species. By acquiring the genes from other species, how this occurs is a new gene, that is the basis of the new functions, does not arise only from the duplication and divergence of the genes. In course of evolution, extra genes has been imported into the genome from outside sources by mechanisms other than the vertical gene transfer. And what is the meaning of vertical gene transfer is that whatever the genes are transferring from parent to progeny are called vertical gene transfer, and the genes are coming from outside or unrelated genome, that method type is called lateral gene transfer. Lateral gene transfer. And the third one is gene fusion or gene fission. Existing genes can fuse, means two or more genes can become part of the same transcript or undergo fission, that is a single transcript can break into two or more separate transcripts, thereby forming the new genes. And the fourth one is a de novo gene origination. In this, new genes can originate de novo from non-coding regions of the DNA. Indeed, several novel genes derived from the non-coding DNA have recently been described in the Drosophila. For these recently originated Drosophila genes with likely protein coding abilities, there are no homologs in any other species. And the fate of the duplicated genes. And after the duplication of the gene, what is the fate? It may be, see, if you see in this diagram, this is gene A. After duplication, it is same, identical. Gene A. After duplication, two genes are produced. And now it may follows two methods. That is, one is undergoes selective pressure so that the same gene, identical gene can be synthesized which perform the original function. And if you consider this gene, it undergone mutations, that is divergence. With the mutations, with always the deleterious mutations occur, means any nucleotide base can be deleted and the coding sequence will be changed. That's why this gene A with the mutations, it's converted into gene B, and which can perform the related functions. And when this mutated gene undergoes gene duplication, here two types of genes will be produced. That is, one will be the related function, which is as like gene B, and the other gene has no function at all, that is pseudogenes. And with the mutations, that is duplication and divergence, the divergence occurs because of the mutations. So after the mutation, again the gene duplication occurs. In that, one gene follows the related function and the other will be act as a pseudogenes. And example for this is the globin gene family. and how this is all the globin genes, that is myoglobin, like hemoglobin and alpha and beta hemoglobins are descended by duplication and divergence from a single ancestral gene. Now the concept of the gene families. What is a gene family? A gene family can be defined as a group of genes of identical or similar sequences that code for a identical or related proteins. There are two types of gene families, that is simple multi-gene family and the second type is the complex multi-gene families. The families in which all the members have identical or near identical sequences belong to a single or classical multi-gene families. Example for this is the rRNA genes are the example for the simple multi-gene families. And that second type is complex multi-gene families. For this, the individual members of the complex multi-gene family, although similar in sequence, are sufficiently different for the gene products to have distinctive properties. And one of the best example for this type of multi-gene family is the mammalian globin genes. And here if you see, the globins are the blood proteins that combine to make hemoglobin, and each molecule of hemoglobin being made up of two alpha type and two beta type globins. And in humans, the alpha type globin are coded by a small multi-gene family on the chromosome 16 and the beta type globin by a second family of chromosome 11. And if you see in this diagram, there are the alpha family subfamily in humans contains three genes, that is zeta. Here you can see this zeta gene which is expressed only in the early embryonic stage, and the two copies of the alpha genes which are expressed during the fetal and adult stages. This alpha 1 and alpha 2 during fetal and adult stage. This psi alpha 1 and psi zeta are the pseudogenes. And if you see, the beta globin gene cluster is longer than the alpha globin gene cluster and contains the 5 genes. Those are, of the 5 genes, 3 are expressed prior to the birth. That is the epsilon. Here if you see the epsilon which is expressed only during the embryogenesis, while the two nearly identical gamma genes are expressed only during the fetal development. These two gamma genes expressed during the fetal development, and the remaining genes, that is delta and the beta, are expressed following the birth. The beta and the delta are expressed following the birth. And there are several duplicated globin DNA sequences in the alpha and beta globin gene clusters that are not functional genes. They are the examples of the pseudogenes. And if you see here, these have a close homology to the functional genes but have been disabled by the mutations that prevent their expression. Two non-functional pseudogenes are present in the alpha cluster and one non-functional pseudogene, that is psi, is present in the beta cluster. Next, the concept of the homologous genes. Homologous genes are the ones that share a common evolutionary ancestor. The ancestor will be the common evolutionary, and a pair of homologous genes have sequence similarities but do not have identical nucleotide sequences. They have the sequence similarities but do not have the identical nucleotide sequences, and it occurs because of the two genes undergo different random changes by mutation. And all these homologous genes fall under into two categories. Those are paralogous genes and the orthologous genes. The homologous genes present in the same organism are called paralogous. Same organism called paralogous, and these homologous genes which are in different organisms that arose through the species divergence are orthologous. The genes which are present in different organisms are called orthologous genes. For example, the myoglobin and beta globin genes of humans, which are paralogous, because these two are present in humans only, and they originated by duplication of an ancestral gene. And the example for orthologous are myoglobin genes of humans and the chimpanzee, which are two different species, and in both the species myoglobin is present, which is an example for the orthologs. Here if you see in the diagram, this is a gene A with the speciation, that is species divergence. Species A consisting of gene A1 and species B consisting of the gene 2, which has the identical function for both these. Since these are present in two different species, that's why it is called orthologous. And if you consider here, this is a gene A. Because of gene duplication and divergence, it has two genes, that is gene A1 and gene A2, which are present in the same organism. That's why it is called paralogs. And now the concept of the pseudogenes. What are the pseudogenes? Pseudogenes are functionless genes, gene variants that are present as a result of an ancient historical accident. And pseudogenes are a type of evolutionary relic that indicates the changing nature of the genome. The abundance of pseudogenes in a given genome usually depends on rates of the gene duplication and the loss. There are two main types of the pseudogenes. Those are conventional or non-processor pseudogene and the processor pseudogene. In the conventional non-processor pseudogene, it is a gene that has become inactive, that is non-functional, because of the accumulation of the mutations. The globin pseudogenes are the most common example for the conventional pseudogenes. The human globin gene clusters contain the 5 pseudogenes. And the second type is the processor pseudogene. It is a gene that results from the integration into the genome of a reverse transcribed copy of an mRNA, and it is thought to originate through the retrotransposition. They lack introns and a promoter region but often contain a polyadenylation signal and are flanked by direct repeats. Errors in reverse transcription and the lack of an appropriate regulatory element often led to the degeneration of processed copies of genes. Mammals appear to have a high number of produced pseudogenes. This is about the pseudogenes and the features of the human genome. What are the features of human genome are? What is the size of the human genome is that 3.2 into 10 to the power of 9 base pairs. This is the size of the DNA. And the number of genes present in the human genome are approximately 30,000 genes, which are 30,000 functional genes are present. And the largest gene is, the length of the largest gene is 2.4 into 10 to the power of 6 nucleotide base pairs. And the mean gene size is around 27,000 nucleotide pairs. The smallest number of exons per gene is 1, whereas the largest number of exons per gene is 178. And the size of the largest exon is 17,106 nucleotide pairs, whereas the mean exon size is 145 nucleotide pairs. The percentage of DNA sequence in exons is around 1.5%. It means rest of the 98.5% is a junk DNA, nothing but which consisting of the introns. And the percentage of DNA in high copy repetitive elements is approximately 50%. And the average percentage of the GC content is 41%, whereas AT content is 59%. The average number of genes per chromosome are around 1400 genes per chromosome. These are the features of the human genome. This is about the nature and structure of the gene. And thank you to all.